This episode, like many, was sparked by my own story. And this is when I made the link between your digestion, your microbiome, and how much it affects your ADHD symptoms. I believe the magnitude of that effect is going to surprise you. I have had major brain fog and terrible focus the last about 3 days. And I would characterize these days as very ADHD days. This is where my ADHD feels out of control, even though I'm doing all the things that generally work. And to be honest, these days or these moments actually are very few and far between for me. And this is because I follow and implement all the practices I teach on here at ADHD Wellness Co. and now on this podcast, Beyond Meds. But I would characterize these moments when they do come as pinging. I'm going from pinging from one thing to the next thing, searching for what we assume or what we know of as a dopamine hit. And no matter how aware I am, how present I am, knowing that if I grab my phone, I don't want to do this, I'm going to follow down the rabbit hole. I'm going to end up doom scrolling. So even though I'm aware, I'm still doing it. I'm still falling into that trap. So it was like 2 days ago. I did not get done what I wanted to get done during that day for work. So I set myself on the couch that evening. I'm like, let's do 1 to 2 hours of work. The Pomodoro cycle works great. I was on my couch, had a blanket on, which can be very soothing. Also just tells my brain that it's time to focus. I had my laptop up and ready to go. I had my tea, my chamomile tea, set my timer, wrote down my intention list. Like everything was set to do the work. I even took some deep belly breathing and just felt into my body of just do a little mindful body scan. Like the setting was perfect. It was set. And then I reached for my phone and I tell myself, don't reach for your phone. You don't need this, but I still do it. And I end up scrolling YouTube. And then I'm like, okay, done with that. Let's move on. Like, I want more water for my tea. Now I want a snack. Now I need to look up something on the internet. I need to search up something. And all the times I know where it's going to lead me, but it's like I can't stop. My brain is out of control. And really the best remedy when it's just like the whole day's been like this is to do the things that feel really easy, like maybe it's admin type work, or is just reading a book or just going to bed, at least for me. And what I want you to pull from this, or what I want to share, there's 2 key points. And both of these points I know to be true, but this experience the last 3 days really made me aware of how important these 2 points are. The first thing, even if you are doing all the tips and tricks to manage symptoms, all the ones I just listed. You're eliminating distractions, you're feeling settled on your couch, you're doing belly breathing, you're doing a body scan, you're using your timers, you're doing all the things, and yet you're like, it still feels really hard. The reason what I articulate as is that there's a greater underlying force or aspect that is disrupting and worsening your ADHD symptoms. Think of it as that root issue. Meaning we can do all of these things, like all these band-aid approaches, but if we don't look at this root thing, it's going to overpower all those little things you're doing, and none of them are going to work or matter. This is like that big driving force. And this could change throughout the day. It could change over a couple days. There could be multiple driving forces that are at play for multiple years or a long period of time. Or there's multiple driving forces, but there's one that's really prominent in this moment. And this is where I speak on getting to the root. It's not just about doing all the tips. You can go on TikTok and find all the tips. It's not just about doing those. It's find out, okay, what's the driving force right now that's making all of my efforts completely useless? And this goes into the second point. The driving force for me in that moment over the span of those couple of days of terrible focus, terrible brain fog, was my digestion or lack thereof. I had persistent stomachache, terrible bloating, and still not quite sure what has caused it. Either way, it really affected my mind and my ADHD. And we're going to talk about how significant that actually is in the ADHD symptoms you experience. And it's something that's talked about, but not, I don't believe it's highlighted as much as we need it to be in helping us manage our symptoms. And just a quick note about this root issue or driving force. This is something that is going to be done over time. It's something you're always working on until you feel solid in that aspect where it's not that driving force anymore. And we characterize these forces, these main ones, into 4 categories, a core 4. And these are the 4 things that make the biggest difference, them being nutrition and digestion, which we're exploring today, constant movement, like daily movement, stress management, mindfulness, and quality sleep. And once you start to focus on one and feel like, I feel solid in this, I have a good practice in this, I'm at a good level that it's not that driving force anymore, then you move to the next pillar and focus on that. And we do have a full membership program that shows you how to do this. It walks you through it step by step, which you can get access to by a monthly donation of just $30 or more if you'd like. I'll link it in the show notes. And it includes overall 2,500 worth of content in there. All our previous courses we've released as well. You get access to all of that. And that comes back to our mission here at ADHD Wellness Co., or AWC for short. It's about showing you how to be sovereign in your ADHD journey. We're helping you become empowered and confident so you can make the right choices for you in this period of time in your life going forward that manage your ADHD. So this is a journey. It's not just a one and done. It's not a cookie cutter solution. It's really looking at all the variables and like, what's working for me right now? How is my movement? How's my sleep? How's my stress? How's my digestion? What do I need to focus on? What's my driving force that's making all the other things I do completely useless? So that is what we speak on here. We do this all through a lens of no psych medication. Doesn't mean we med shame. There's a purpose and place for that for certain people. And it's again coming back to the sovereignty in your ADHD management journey. All right, if you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're listening to this on audio, amazing. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. Let's dive in today. So what are we going over today? It's all about digestion and the link between digestion and your ADHD. So why is this important? How the gut and brain are connected and how those affect each other. And we'll share some science on that as well. I want to talk about also how psych meds play a role in this and how they also affect digestion. And can the medication you're taking, can that lessen the natural potential positive effects you could be getting? And if you come off medication, would that also then affect your microbiome and so affect you managing ADHD symptoms med-free? I do want to talk about that. And finally, I'm going to go through some widely shared advice and quoted best practices to explore how effective these best practices actually are in managing ADHD. Or are they in worsening our ADHD? And some of my favorites is the common like make use of grab and go snacks or prepackaged food because it's better to eat something than nothing at all. And we're going to explore if that's true or not, among others. So how do your gut, your microbiome, and your brain talk to each other? So they're constantly talking to each other, constant communication. Your microbiome is directly connected to your central nervous system, your CNS, and it's almost like they're texting each other back and forth all day long. This is called a gut-brain axis. And to clarify, your microbiome is a collection of bacteria and other microorganisms in our digestive system. So it's this two-way conversation, meaning either one can affect the other. And this communication happens in a few different pathways. The first one is our vagus nerve highway. And this is like a direct telephone line between your gut and your brain. And about 80% of its fibers carry messages from your gut to your brain, not the other way around. So when your gut feels something, it immediately sends signals up to your brain. So the concept of gut feeling, your intuition, is accurate. It's true. This is actually what happens based on science. Another pathway is the chemical messenger pathway, so neurotransmitters. Your gut bacteria actually produce many of the same chemicals your brain uses, such as serotonin, about 90% of your serotonin is actually made in your gut, dopamine, and GABA. And those chemicals in GABA affect your mood, focus, and how you feel. So now we know your gut is a huge player in your emotions, how you feel. The third one is immune system signals. So your gut contains about 70% of your immune system. So when something's wrong in your gut, your immune cells are going to release inflammation signals that can then travel to your brain and affect how it works. So if you're sick, it's going to affect your brain fog, as we know that. The fourth and final is bacterial products. So the bacteria in your gut make substances called metabolites, and these are short-chain fatty acids. They can enter your bloodstream and influence how your brain function. Meaning, what you eat directly affects your gut health, your microbiome, which in turn affects your brain function. And we know this. This has been around for a while, but it creates a bigger impact than I believe we're led to believe. And we can't stop there because your digestion, what I really want to focus on today, of that food directly affects your brain function. So when I made these links and really took this in, right away I'm thinking, well, this must directly affect ADHD symptoms then. And I'm not wrong. Studies have been done that have shown this. Of course, with any study, there are limitations as they only look at one aspect. But I did find various studies that explored the connection between the microbiome and ADHD, including ones that found differences in the types of gut bacteria in people with ADHD compared to those without. This then raises the question on the cause and effect. Like, did ADHD cause a poor microbiome? Such as the variables of you're forgetting to eat. You're not fueling your body properly. You're not giving your body the proper bacteria. You're eating grab-and-go convenience food, which is also not supporting your microbiome. You're drinking too much caffeine, which is affecting your microbiome. Like, is that a reason why? There's so many variables within that. Or is a poor microbiome a precursor to ADHD or can even cause ADHD? And then we would look back to your ancestral line, hereditary aspects of a microbiome, which is passed down, or your mother specifically in development in the womb in early child years. So there's just so much we can explore here. And this is what we explore on this podcast. Because there's no black and white answer, like I mentioned. All of this has truth to it, but there's so many variables that need to be considered in your own life and in your current season you're in your life. And again, this is why we're empowering you to manage your ADHD journey, be sovereign in that, and get curious. And what you pull from this, like, really take what resonates. If it doesn't resonate right now, maybe it will later, maybe not at all, and let that go. And just trust where you're being led. Trust your gut on this one. Trust where you're being led. Okay, let's continue. So how exactly does this all work? How does your digestion affect our gut and our brain? And what else can affect our microbiome and then in turn affect our brain? So let's explore, if you have a poor microbiome, how this affects brain function. And a poor microbiome can come from a variety of things. Poor diet, of course, but also stress, medications, excessive caffeine. There's many different variables here. So the first is you're going to have reduced of the happy chemicals. So if you have an unhealthy gut bacteria, that means they're producing less of the mood-boosting chemicals such as serotonin and GABA. You're then going to have increased toxins. This means harmful bacteria are going to produce toxins, and this can cross the blood-brain barrier and interfere with brain function, which may worsen ADHD symptoms. Third one is chronic inflammation. So a poor microbiome diversity is going to lead to ongoing low-level inflammation that affects brain cell function and even size. So again, cognitive effect here. The fourth is a weakened brain protection. So the blood-brain barrier, it becomes more permeable. And this then allows harmful substances to reach the brain. Again, a cognitive dysfunction here. The fifth is a neurotransmitter disruption. This is when the communication between your brain cells becomes less efficient as signal-carrying chemicals that are affected. So your gut-brain connection, it becomes weakened. The sixth is cognitive impact. This manifests as difficulty concentrating, memory problems, mood swings, anxiety, and again, potentially worsening ADHD symptoms. I went over that really quickly. I feel a lot of this information is quite widespread, that poor microbiome is going to affect your mood, your immunity, recovery from exercise, and your brain function. Which naturally leads me to how important it is to eat healthy. And most of everything I read, I should say everything, but majority of the stuff I do read online about what is recommended for an ADHD diet is great. Choose whole foods, limit sugar, limit alcohol, choose a variety of fruits and vegetables, lean meats, dairy and gluten. If you don't digest it well, it's going to affect your microbiome. Eating organic, I also advocate for as well. So it's all of these methodologies, all of these prescriptions are amazing. But are we really taking that to heart and realizing how much this does affect your brain function? My journey with nutrition has evolved so much in my lifetime, but even the last couple months, now switching to eating organic, switching to more plant-based diet, my focus, my cognitive processing, the hyperactivity part is it's so much better. Like, the focus is there. The cognitive functioning's there. There's less of this pain energy. It feels like I unlocked the next layer in my journey. And I'm going to come back to an example of that in a bit here, because that's going to really contrast what I experienced the last 3 days with this bloating. And that brings me to digestion. You can be eating all of the right foods, but if you're not digesting it properly, if you're not absorbing the nutrients, this affects your microbiome, which I experience significantly affects how your brain is going to function over time or in that moment. Now, digestion can be like I experienced a one-off. I don't know what it was. Maybe I ate something that had gone bad. Maybe I ate too fast that one day that kind of threw it off, which is very common in ADHD. Maybe I just ate something that didn't sit well with me. But I remember a period of time in my life, and I see this so often with a lot of people, where my digestion was poor because of chronic stress. And I didn't believe I was stressed at all. When people asked me, I was like, I'm not stressed, but what am I stressed about? Yet there were so many things happening in my life that were just fuel on the fire, on the stress fire. What affects digestion? It all comes back to stress. That doesn't work well with you, so it's stressing your gut. You're just overall chronic stress, so you're just not digesting food well. You're rushing from thing to thing, or you're grabbing a smoothie as you rush out the door to work. You're multitasking, so something else is pulling your attention and causing stress in your body. In order to digest, our body needs to be in a parasympathetic state of our nervous system. It literally means rest and digest. We talk about this on other episodes, but just realize that you need to be in a restful state to digest your food. If your whole life looks very dysregulated and very stressful, which a lot of people with ADHD do suffer with, I did for so long, I didn't even realize it because it's what your normal is, then it's going to be really hard to digest that food, which will then again point to your microbiome and your brain function. But if you focus on that pillar of reducing stress, really managing that, being able to come to a parasympathetic nervous state, and then you're able to digest on a regular basis, and then sometimes you eat a meal too fast, or you're multitasking, like I do that all the time, and you just don't digest that meal as well. It's like, okay, I'm going to have some effects from this, but overall, I'm digesting my food. And then eventually you'll get to a place of I'm digesting majority of my food really well, and then that odd thing really throws me off. There's layers to it. And again, that's why I want you to hear all this and take what feels right, and it will lead you in the right direction. When you're stressed and not digesting what's happening, so there's a few things. One is the nutrient absorption issue. When you're stressed, your digestion slows down. So it's not breaking down the food properly, so you're not absorbing nutrients effectively. So this means fewer building blocks like amino acids, B vitamins, zinc will reach your brain to make neurotransmitters, affects cognitive functioning. The other one is blood sugar instability. So your stress hormones are going to raise your blood sugar. And when this is combined with poor digestion, this creates blood sugar spikes and then crashes, which worsen concentration and focus. Third is inflammation. Stress makes your gut more permeable, allowing partially digested food particles to trigger immune responses. And this inflammation then can travel to your brain and affect, again, cognitive function. And the fourth is that poor digestion directly contributes to brain fog, of just feeling unfocused and hard to concentrate. What I was really experiencing. Stress is the culprit for affecting our digestion. When I was looking into this topic that I'm sharing with you today, I was curious about bloating specifically. Like, how does that then connect to our brain function? Because I know I was experiencing terrible brain fog and ADHD symptoms. The only thing that was really different was this bloating and the poor digestion. Well, it comes back to the point I made. If you're not digesting, breaking down the food, it's stressing your gut. So back to stress. But what I found was just a bit more details around that. When you're bloated after eating, it's stretching your intestines, and that's sending then distress signals through your vagus nerve. So your brain's registering this as discomfort, right? That gut-brain connection. And this can then trigger a stress response and mood changes, right? Because there's discomfort and it's like, okay, we're online now. We've actually the stress signal, something's wrong. We need to fix this. So this is going to make you mentally foggy or irritable. This is different than digestion, but still linked in the same category. I was really cold the other day I was working and I couldn't focus. Same thing, it's a stress response. And my body's like, okay, we're on alert to try and warm up here because this is uncomfortable. So again, brain fog, irritable. During the time of digestion, and if you're experiencing bloating, gut bacteria may actually temporarily change their activity and potentially producing different levels of mood-affecting chemicals. So poor digestion, again, could affect how much dopamine, how much serotonin, how much GABA is produced and released. And this takes me back to when I analyze, let's say, the last year of my own nutrition and digestion journey. I love to self-experiment so I can bring this content to you and show you how it applies in real life and how it is possible to change and manage your ADHD journey in your own way. When I was away in Mexico in the winter and eating very mindfully, eating organic food for the most part, lots of fresh food. Whenever I would sit down for a meal, I wasn't doing work, which I usually end up doing. I'm guilty of that. I was maybe reading a book, but otherwise I was really just sitting there enjoying my food. That whole time period when I was there, I was so focused. I was in a great mood. I mean, I was in Mexico, of course. It's sunny and beautiful, but I could just feel like, wow, I feel overall just very joyous and very happy, which allowed me to be focused and not even have the temptation to reach for my phone or look for a dopamine hit. My sleep quality was really good. I wasn't getting as much hours in bed, but I was feeling refreshed every morning. So my quality was really good. And I couldn't wait to do work because I was so focused and dialed in. And I had experienced absolutely no bloating. So when I came back from that, I was like, okay, I have all the systems in place to make my life very easeful with ADHD, but what is the thing that really changed for me there? Aside from extra vitamin D, it was how I was eating and able to digest the food. And also the food I was eating was fresh and organic, but it was how I was eating. So when I came back, I did switch to plant-based diet for the most part because I realized I could digest that better. I switched to organic because that made me more mindful of eating because the food just tasted better. I was doing all these little experiments when I came back and realized, wow, I'm so dialed in. My focus, my clarity of mind is on point. So when I noticed those 3 days of bloating, it was such a contrast. My mood changed, my focus changed, like major brain fog. I was like, okay, this is more significant than I ever had thought it was. So take from this what you will, what resonates with you, and look at where you are in your own life. It's like maybe you're not eating healthy at all, and that's the first step, is choosing healthier foods. Maybe you are eating quite well, but it's how you're eating. You're not digesting your food, or maybe it's a mix of both. You know what's true for you, and I believe that we all know what our next step is. We just need that little push or that extra bit of information to make that happen. Which again is why I have the membership program, which you can access for that $30 a month donation. And then it walks you through where to start in digestion and nutrition, but also those other core 4 pillars, which are the driving forces of what's really affecting our ADHD and how to start to take action on them. Okay, I want to move over now to the common advice, the best practices we hear, and how valid are they? Are they hurting us more than harming us? And I'll also talk a bit more about psych medication, how that then would affect our digestion. The first one I hear is this promotion of grab and go snacks. Like if you have ADHD, it's going to be hard to cook a meal or plan food, and it's easy to forget to eat. So have grab and go snacks, like things you can buy that are already pre-made. Maybe it's those like meals, those frozen meals. I'm just thinking grab and go snacks you can buy. Thinking like hummus and crackers or whatnot, because it's better to have those than to not eat at all. This is something that yes, it could be better than nothing at all, depending, again, where you are. Like if you haven't ate all day and this is some nutrition, maybe. But first off, it's a grab and go snack, so maybe you're multitasking, doing something else. So you're not even digesting it. You're getting bloated from it. And this is then infecting your cognition, your brain function. It's worsening your symptoms. So it would have been better not to eat it. Or if you're eating something that is packed full of sugar, preservatives, maybe seed oils that isn't healthy for you, and now you're putting more fuel in the fire for a disruptive microbiome, like not an optimal microbiome, then maybe it's not worth it for you. Because again, it's just going to affect your brain function. It's going to make it worse. Or maybe you're relatively healthy and you are able to digest this food because you're eating it in a restful state and your microbiome's healthy enough that this has some preservatives in it, seed oils. That's okay because your microbiome's strong. Okay, then maybe that is great because otherwise you'd be hungry and that would affect your brain function. So again, it's really taking inventory of where you are in your life. Being sovereign starts with getting crystal clear of like, okay, where am I at right now? What am I doing? How can I make changes to make this better for myself? So those grab and go snacks, I mean, if that's helpful for you, prioritize whole foods. Prioritize the whole foods. And when you have a snack, just have it. Or you're having a meal, just do that. And focus on the digestion aspect. The next one I hear a lot is eating first thing in the morning. Eat when you wake up and prioritize protein. I hear this a lot. Protein's really good for you in the morning, good for your brain health and brain function. Yes, there's truth to this. However, if you're someone who wakes up and you're not hungry or you feel full, having food can be disruptive on your stomach, your microbiome. We do need to fast for 12 hours, roughly 10 to 12 hours to let our microbiome, our gut relax so you can digest food again. So if you ate late at night, which again is not wise either, but you wake up and you're not hungry, eating something may not be good for you. For the male population, fasting is totally fine. Of course, within parameters. For females, that fasting can really disrupt your hormones. So I would recommend, yes, to eat something when you wake up. But if protein just doesn't sit well with you, again, that can cause stress in your microbiome. So eating when you wake up, yeah, great. Protein, yeah, great. But it depends on what feels right for you. So ask yourself, am I digesting this? Am I hungry? Am I eating this in a way that I'm not stressed while I eat it? And again, is this going to affect my hormones? Am I a female where fasting is not great for our hormones, except that 12-hour overnight fast? But if you're a male, maybe that is what works best for you. The other one goes, the first one, it's the just eat something. Like make sure you're fueling for your day, like have snacks throughout the day, but you're constantly on go, go, go. You're like think to think to think to think. So you're like, okay, I'm eating. I gotta remember to eat. I gotta remember to eat. So I'm eating. I'm always on the go. So again, I'm not digesting the food. I'm not ever in a restful state to digest this. That's just wrecking your microbiome more. It's going to not help you with your cognitive functioning. So I would say, yeah, it's probably better to skip that meal and find a time or wait a bit longer till you do have a space and time to eat mindfully. And this is all about self-inquiry. It's really taking stock of what am I doing in my life? What feels like the logical next step based on this information? And try it out. It's a journey. Try it out, see what happens for yourself. I want to talk quickly about caffeine and coffee specifically. This can be a great tool for ADHD for focus, mental clarity. I have played around with it, with taking it out of my life and then bringing it back in small doses and just seeing the effect of it and using it kind of like a drug when I need that extra boost. However, I know a lot of ADHDers drink multiple cups a day of coffee or have too much caffeine, and that's the way they get through the day of getting stuff done. Coffee or coffee specifically, caffeine, it's depending how you're taking it, is very acidic, and that really affects your digestive tract, which can again reduce beneficial bacteria, affects your microbiome. It can irritate the gut lining, which again can affect your digestion, lead to reduced appetite, lead to different food choices, and may increase cortisol. Coffee can be very stressful in your gut. Maybe 1 cup, depending who you are and how your microbiome is currently, and especially multiple cups. So if you're using it to have more clarity or more cognitive functioning, but it's affecting your gut, which also would then affect in a negative way your cognitive functioning, is it worth it? Right? If you're taking this to boost it, but then your gut's lowering the effect of it, maybe better not having that 3rd, 4th cup of coffee and focusing on your microbiome, because over time you're going to have better mental functioning. So I'm really speaking this to the folks that drink a lot of coffee in a day on how there's negative side effects of that. But if you start to take that down and drink less and less, and say your microbiome starts to improve because of it, of course, there's other things at play here, but that could be something over time you just have a higher baseline of cognitive functioning, and then you can still use that caffeine to boost it even more. Hope that makes sense. Again, there's no right prescription for any of this, but it's looking at your own life. You're like, wow, I drink a lot of coffee and otherwise my nutrition's decent. What if I took this down a bit to help my microbiome even more, help my digestion better, and that would boost my cognitive functioning? Well, let's go into psych meds. It's been found in studies that psych meds, so such as like Ritalin, Vyvanse, have been shown to directly affect the bacteria in your gut, the diversity of it and the abundance of it. So right away, it's affecting your gut health. And there's probably other medication too that affects this. I'm looking just at ADHD medication. The other interesting point here is your microbiome also affects how you digest and absorb medications, meaning if you already have a poor microbiome and you are taking psych medication, maybe you're not getting the best effect from it because of your microbiome. There's so many different aspects to this, right? Because everything we ingest, it comes back to our gut. And then if we look at the first point, psych meds do affect your microbiome, and to the extent we may not know yet, and it depends where your microbiome is at currently, right? Everyone's microbiome is so unique. It's like your fingerprint. It's that unique. Everyone's is completely different. But if you come off psych meds and say that really took a toll on your microbiome, well, now you're already at a step backwards of optimal brain functioning because of the medication you are taking. So these are things to keep in mind where it's not as easy as just like, okay, right, I just pop a pill, my microbiome is perfect. It is about digesting well, but also choosing quality foods, choosing foods that work well with your body. If you have a craving, it's actually your microbiome telling you, we need this, we're craving this food, and it's a good thing. However, if it's sugar or highly processed or fatty foods, that's a different response. But if you're like, I'm really craving apples, okay, it's probably something from your gut saying, we need these nutrients, this works really well for us right now. And if you're someone who takes psych meds, just keeping that in mind as this is affecting your microbiome. So are you doing other things to support your microbiome? Again, all of this is to help you feel empowered and confident with your journey in managing ADHD. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So with all that being said, it could probably feel like, where do I start? What do I even do? I will leave you with this, that in 2 weeks or in 1 to 2 weeks, your gut bacteria population can significantly change. Meaning if you start to take some changes now in a week or two, your microbiome is already changing. It is an ongoing journey, but taking action now does have a pretty quick effect. Things such as probiotics and getting prebiotics in are great. Choosing whole foods, limiting processed foods, limiting seed oils, limiting sugar, alcohol, excessive caffeine, or anything really acidic. Following your cravings when it's like, this feels like a true craving, not I'm craving sugar and high fatty foods or that are not nutritious, not nutritionally dense. Like if you're craving walnuts, that's great, versus I'm craving like a chocolate bar, a little bit different. Lean meats, looking at dairy and gluten, do those work for you? Do they not? Animal products, maybe they work for you, maybe they don't. Soy products, it's really getting curious of what works for you. And you can work with naturopaths on this. I believe there's other professionals out there too that can help guide on what works for you. And ideally, it will then lead you to an intuitive approach where you get to know your body so well. You're like, I know this works for me. I know how I feel on this. And that will start to become easier and easier over time. Last part I'll leave you with is how you eat. Are you eating and just doing that? Or are you rushing from something? Are you feeling stressed from work? Are you multitasking? Eat just to eat. Enjoy the food. Chew the food. Come back to a restful state so you can actually digest and absorb that food and all the nutrients in it. That is all I have for you today. Again, I will put a bunch of links in the show notes. Some of the studies I found as well will be linked down there, and the link to the membership program if you'd like to join. It's that minimum $30 a month. You can also just donate if you want to support this podcast. We so greatly appreciate it. This podcast on audio and video is not currently monetized, so it does help us a lot to produce the show for you every second week to hopefully every week soon to come. And we will link that below as well. It's on our Ko-Fi account. We'll see you next time. Much love.